Autism O Gaming. You might want to change that name. I'm just saying, so people might find that offensive. Even if you actually are autistic, that could be seen as offensive. I'm just throwing that out there. And by the way, I'm going to say this outright. There's absolutely nothing wrong with people who are autistic. I know many people who are autistic. All right? And they're perfectly normal, fine, good, positive people. There's nothing wrong with this at all. Viking asks if I'm autistic. Of course. You didn't know? You can't tell?
For people who can do it, making your job something you are passionate about is the ideal way to go. For me, I work a job I'm not very passionate about in order to make money. It's a job I'm good at. It's a job I'm paid reasonably well for. But my passion is probably just making videos at night and on the weekends. That's the thing I like to do the most. But I think people should strive to do something they're passionate about as a career if they can. I think that's been Phil's dream. So I think he sort of tells himself, yes, this is my passion. But in terms of how he speaks about it and his verbal cues and his nonverbal cues, which like communication indicators and verbal nonverbals and all of that is something I'm passionate about because I studied communication for years in college. I see no passion in this man at all, but I think he wants to appear as though he is passionate because I think his image is very important to him.
I think that you mentioned there about, that kind of body language and nonverbal communication and how that comes across. Generally, autistic people don't really communicate non-verbally. It's actually part of the diagnostic criteria, that you don't have much facial expressions or your facial expressions don't necessarily kind of match what you are saying. They're kind of incongruent of each other.
I'm actually happier now than when I was 20. So why would I want to go back to that? But that's what, I feel my life has always been an uphill build to something good. While these guys over here, they're already up there, but, what do they really have in their lives? Maybe they are happy, and that's fine. PewDiePie, by all reports, PewDiePie has a great personal life, right? He's happily married, he's healthy, he's got a ton of money. Good for him. Good. I'm happy for him, quite frankly. Let those people be successful. I'm the older I get, the more I'm learning. It's about me in the here and now and us and what we do. It's not about what everyone else out there does. You know what I'm saying? It's not at all. It's all about being enjoyable with what you do on a daily basis and being happy with your own life and what you've got, being grateful for what you've got, and aspiring to do better, of course, and aspiring for growth and aspiring for something. Everyone always wants something better for themselves or their family or their business, right? But at the same time, understanding that that's not the end-all, be-all of happiness of life, right? Like the question here from Big Papa Phil was, what is the thing that you feel like you're the most proud of over the years? And the answer is that I'm still here doing what I love, and I'm not upset about anything bad that's happened in my past, because I very well could be. I could sit here every day and have sour grapes about the things that have happened. Oh, my channel used to be so much bigger. Oh, I used to be so much more popular, and I used to do this and I used to be able to go to conventions constantly because I made so much money on YouTube ad revenue. I could take entire weeks off of content creation to go to a convention and shit like that. And I haven't done, you know what I mean? I'm in a situation where that's just not viable shit anymore, and it's just my reality, and I'm okay with that. I actually love my life. Maybe that is the greatest accomplishment of my entire career online, is that I love my life. Maybe that's actually should have been just the short answer in a nutshell. No regrets. There you go. All right. Anything else before we get started with Elden Ring?
You don't necessarily use gestures. That's kind of that non-verbal side of communication is either absent or it's just not right. Sometimes people are trying very hard to kind of put in some nonverbal communication because they know you're supposed to be doing those things, but that tends to come a little bit sort of unnatural. And again, that can be interpreted like, oh, that person is a bit shifty, and, or are they lying because what they are saying and their kind of facial expression or body language are mismatched. And, that's obviously one explanation, one possibility, but often what is happening is just autistic people are really bad at nonverbal communication. It's one of the key diagnostic criteria.
Or when they do nonverbal communication, or they try those nonverbals, they are masking. They're kind of saying, well, this is how a person would act in this situation. This is the face they would make. That's why you have things like mood charts and diagrams to assist autistic people in sort of understanding what their feelings are, or having other people understand them, because I think Phil is all over the map non-verbally. I don't think anything he does non-verbally makes sense outside of figuring out if he's stimming or he has specific tics. Because he definitely has specific tics for specific things, but I wouldn't call it direct one-to-one non-verbal communication.
Welcome to the Pre-Stream Podcast. Good stuff. That was absolutely disgusting.
Some people are able to pick it up naturally just by observing neurotypicals and kind of copying. But for many autistic people, it actually requires specific instruction. So that usually happens, early on in life. You get the diagnosis, and people start giving you all those communication classes and trying to teach you, you're supposed to look at people, you're supposed to look like this to be interested. If you are sad, that's how your face is supposed to be arranged, so you are kind of communicating your feelings effectively, to the people around you. If you are not going to have that instruction, you are just kind of flying blindly, and you may pick up some things, but how successful you are going to be in replicating that, again, having no, kind of specific feedback. Well, your face was not arranged quite good. You were actually, looking angry when you weren't. Somebody needs to point it out to you, and then you can make adjustments. If he's sitting by himself in his bedroom and not really getting much feedback, from other people about how he's perceived, how he's gonna be learning and picking up those skills.
And that's another thing, Logan. You think back to the King of Hate. Maybe that was Philip's autistic interpretation of how people saw him because
I believe
all
it
these
is.
non-verbal communication. So he's picked up the moniker the King of Hate purely because he's perceived people, as thinking that he is a hateful person.
And then he becomes that person.
Yeah, so he's taken on that moniker because that's how he identifies himself with the world around him at that moment, the King of Hate moniker.
I want to say a special thank you, and I actually mean it. I want to say a special thank you to all of my haters. I want every one of you, whoever made a hateful montage about me, whoever made fun of me, said that I'm a fat fuck, said that I'm ugly, I hate my girlfriend, I'm a horrible gamer, he's terrible at fighting games, he's terrible at this, he's a horrible person, he's a liar. I want to thank each and every one of you. And I don't mean that in a snide or sarcastic way. Here's why I say that. Because you don't know where the actual moniker, the King of Hate, came from, because you never bothered to open your fucking ears and listen to what I had to say. The reason that I'm called the King of Hate is not because I love to hate on people and hate on things. It's not. That's not whatsoever where that came from. It came from every facet of my life, no matter where I was, whether it was in high school, in college, in a Street Fighter career, in my official business career. People love to be dicks to me. They love to not give me a fair shake. They love to hate on me. They love to tell me that I can't do something. And I've had so many times in my life when someone told me, you know what, you can't do it. And I really felt, no, but I think I could. I think I'm being held back. And people say, no, fuck you. You're no good. Get the fuck out. We don't want you. Just blatant hate. But the reason I call myself the king of hate isn't because I get all angry and I rant on everyone. No. It's because I take that fucking hate and I let it build up inside of me. And I let it become a force. I let it become a force that drives me. To say, you fucking gonna tell me that I'm no good, that I'm a fat fuck, that I can't do something? I'm gonna take that and I'm gonna throw it in your face. So what I have to say to everyone out there who's made it their professional career now to try to hate on me is, look at me now. Here I am, exactly where I should be, having fun, doing my hobby as my way to support myself. I just got great news. In 2014, if everything goes according to plan, I'm going to be moving to a bigger place. I'm going to be having lots of fun. By no means am I saying that I make so much money that I'm rich and I'm going to be throwing money around, because that's not me. That's not the point I'm saying. But I'm saying is this: you tried your fucking hardest this year to bring me down. I am not going anywhere. I own your fucking hate as a badge to show that there's so many people that want me to fail and I refuse to fucking lose. Thank you for the motivation to let me continue to put out entertaining content on a daily basis. Every day when I get up and I put out a quality video, it puts a smile on my face because, number one, I know that it entertains someone, and otherwise someone who might have been having a bad or shitty day now is entertained and it feels better. But number two, I know that I just proved you wrong. And that is another reason for me to continue doing what I do on a daily basis. And I give that as advice to anyone out there who has a bully, who has someone who wants to talk shit about them, who wants to say, oh, let's just twist everything he does to make him look bad because it's funny. Because the bottom line is this: people who do that, they do it because they don't feel good about themselves. Whether it's they've been bullied in their own lives and now they have to find a way to do it to someone else. You know, it's funny because I say I used to be the underdog and now I'm not anymore. I really still am. I'm not Tobuscus. I'm not PewDiePie, who make $5 bajillion a year on their shit, okay? The thing here is you can try to cyberbully them and they don't get affected because they have such huge fan bases it doesn't matter. Yeah, oh no, you can cyberbully me because I'm the little guy, but I want you to know something. I'm one of the fucking originators. I'm one of the people who stuck his neck out and back in 2008 started to do something different on YouTube in an entertaining fashion that almost no one else was doing. I've inspired people. Yeah, that's right. PewDiePie has said he was inspired by me to make videos. He used to watch my content back when he had no money to buy games. He would watch me play the games. That's how he got the idea to make his content. And I could sit here and whine and complain that he's bigger than me and he's a millionaire and I'm not. I'm not, because I'm content where I am. But what I want to say is thank you fucking haters for giving me what you did. Because this year, if it was a complacent year and it was a boring year, the worst thing that could possibly happen, all right, on the internet in general, is that you put out content and nobody cares. That's the worst thing that could possibly happen. That you're putting out playthroughs, you're putting out reviews, you're putting out this, you're putting out that, and nothing, no reaction, all right? I get a reaction. It may be polarizing, and I don't intend it to be that way, but I get a reaction no matter what I do. So proving you fuckers wrong and showing that as much as you're trying to bring me down, that I will refuse to die is motivation enough for me to push on. 2014 is going to be, I'm going to call it right now, is going to be the most positive year of my life so far, because I'm going to be moving up. I'm going to be getting a better place, having finally a professional setup to do this stuff. I'm going to try to be more professional with the stuff that I do. There's going to be a balance of personal time and gaming, absolutely, but it's looking good. I may even get my back fixed, who knows? It's going to be a crazy whirlwind year for me. So go ahead, keep making your ridiculous montages, keep jerking each other's dicks off because you think that it makes you feel better about yourself. The bottom line is, I got where I got through hard work, through dedication, and through being entertaining. Not through being some self-righteous prick who thinks he's better than everyone else because he did a fucking speed run of a certain game in perfectionist way, and you think that there's a certain way that gaming must be done to be done correctly. You are a miserable human being if you believe that, and if all you focus on is negativity and that's how you get your jollies, you go ahead and do that, because when you're 31, because I know none of you are that are doing this kind of shit. When you hit 31 and you're sitting there in a dead-end job in some fucking ratty-looking apartment or in your mom's basement, and you say, gee, maybe if I actually put some effort into doing something creative and entertaining, I wouldn't be here, instead of, I just made fun of Darkside Phil and other Let's Players for years. Oh, that really got me far. So keep it up. Keep up the good work. I salute you, my haters. Thank you for the ongoing support. I appreciate it. It is the fuel to my fire. It is the badge that I wear to let me know that I can prove you wrong, and I will continue to do so until I so choose to leave YouTube and Twitch of my own volition, period.
Philip would say the following nearly 12 years later.
You stupid, incredible, brainless idiot. When you mess with Darkside Phil, people rally to support Darkside Phil. That's why I'm still here 17 years later. Do you know what the King of Hate moniker meant? It didn't mean that I was a hateful individual who wanted to crap on others and be a bigot and a sexist and a racist and to insult Hideo Kojima like all the morons said it was. The King of Hate moniker is that when people hate against Phil Burnell takes all of that hatred and vitriol against him and he uses it as fuel. He throws it into his fucking engine and he burns it up and it propels him forward with energy and vigor to make positive content and to be successful. I own the hate against me and I use it to push forward positively and succeed. And that's why I'm here 17 years later. No matter how many morons have tried to end me, I'm still fucking here. I'm not going anywhere. Right now, I'm actually on a high. Things are going well for me. Think about all the awesome stuff that's happened in the last year, the massive upgrades to my setup, the fact that I'm a successful co-streamer. I'm making money. I can afford all the things. I was going to buy 2 Switch 2s because I can afford them. I didn't have to do a special event to fundraise for it. I could just get them. I just became a verified and partnered streamer on Kick, and that's working out. All these things are working well for me. Do you get it? Well for me. So every time that you fuck with me, all you do is prove my point. I am not going to falter or fail. I'm going to continue. You are going to sit there and stew and cry and seethe and mope and cope and say, I can't believe it. Ladies and gentlemen, it doesn't matter how you fuck with me. I'm still going to be here. I'm not going to give up. So many people have said to me over the years, Phil, why don't you give it up and throw in the towel? With all the things that's happened to you, that's documented. Not even just the things you say, but the things that are public is crazy. We can only imagine the things that have happened behind the scenes that we don't even know about. How do you keep doing it? Well, maybe it's because I'm stubborn. Probably a big part of it. Again, I'm the kind of guy that my whole life, when someone looked at me and said, you can't do it, you're not good enough, you're a scumbag, you're an asshole, you're a jerk, this and that, I said, I'm glad you feel that way. Now I'm going to prove you wrong. And every single time in my life that it's happened, I've persevered. When in the Street Fighter community, they said all I was a big shit talker and I was never going to put my money where my mouth was and actually win, I proceeded to win tournament after tournament after tournament after tournament in Super Turbo and show them all that I was great. And then they had nothing else to fucking say until people tried to erase that narrative and rewrite it years later on the internet. The fact remains, I became a top-level tournament player despite the fact that everyone thought that I was just going to be a shit-talking scrub. On YouTube, everyone said, oh, Phil, you're a no one. Your quality sucks. No one likes your content because you're just a schlub. And I said, all right, fine. I'm glad you said that. And through the years, I constantly improved, changed, and became a better person. And now here I am in 2025, and I'm more successful now than I ever was. And you might say, what? I don't get it. Doesn't matter how many views you have. It doesn't matter how many people watch your content. What happens is how many people care about you and your content and support it. I know that now. I'm much more successful and happy and positive in my life today, having a few thousand major supporters who love what I do, as opposed to back in the day when I had hundreds of thousands of people who were watching me, but no one was really supporting. They were just watching. Get it? There's a big difference. But people don't get that. They don't understand. They actually are that ignorant. They don't get it.
Well, again, to shift to something else, he identifies himself based on other people constantly. It's like he's an empty shell looking for emotion or looking for character, because he adopts the mannerisms of the people he interacts with. Even in a relatively short time, with him interacting with PPP and Worski from Kino Casino, we saw him almost immediately pick up on their mannerisms and just run with it.
Yeah!
You're fucking felted, bitch. Felted. You're done. And it means that once again, ladies and gentlemen, we have done it here on DSP Gaming. We hit the goal, we filled the coffer, the taxes are paid, the trolls are felted, and now it's time for the Liberation Army to strike back, strike hard, and give no mercy. Absolutely excellent. Thank you so very much. $250,000 man. And with that, with all this crazy stuff going on, ladies and gentlemen, we've done it again. We hit the goals, the taxes were paid, the trolls were felted, they're crying, they're seething, they're so upset. My return podcast was drama-filled because I felted Review Tech USA after him essentially continuing down his path of degeneracy endlessly.
And that is an extremely common thing in autism.
Okay.
To an extreme, it's something called echolalia, when you end up, repeating exactly what the other person is saying or copying their body movements.
Right.
That's often very common in autistic children, and that's how the communication starts. It's kind of, repetition. Very young neurotypical children will do it as well, but then quickly progress to making their original content, so to speak. For autistic people, that tends to persist. We repeat what other people are saying, or, we kind of adopt, similar phrases. And this is actually a way to make a connection. This is going to, again, feel quite good to both parties if you have two autistic people interacting, because that person has definitely heard me because they are repeating it back.
Yes.
And we are using the same language, the same kind of phrases, similar intonation. Therefore, we are on the same page. We have connected. We are communicating. Things are all right. So, this is quite common. If you are kind of, observing autistic people talking to each other, we will, start repeating and, kind of sometimes even changing our accent, because, this is a funny thing with autistic people. We often either have weird accents or, our accent shifts depending on who we are talking to. So you can sort of see it that, like we have kids, kind of speaking with a foreign accent for no good reason. And this is a part of diagnostic criteria for autism. It doesn't happen in neurotypicals, but for whatever reason, it's quite common in autism. I don't really have a scientific explanation why that is, but, it's kind of so well documented that it's part of the diagnostic criteria.
Well, I think in my experience, again, I only experienced this through being a non-teaching staff member at a summer program, but even when we would play something like board games with people on the spectrum, if a neurotypical person would make a joke that one of the autistic kids really liked, they would repeat it. And then if neurotypical people laughed at that or repeated that, they would get a massive laugh and a massive rise out of that, because it is in a way validation. And you saw that with Kino Casino specifically, because he would start to do what they do and then they would praise him for it. So it's affirmation, it's acceptance, which is, in my experience, what a lot of people on the spectrum are looking for. It's that social acceptance through connection, through repeated memes, because finding that acceptance can be very hard for someone on the spectrum.
Can I chime in?
Absolutely.
I also think Philip copies objects from other people as well. So, like, if you look at Andy Worski's got that thing on his back wall, that LED screen.
Yes.
Phil bought the exact same model, right? And I was re-watching Philip's interview of June when he had him on after the documentary. And if you look at when Phil went through buying all the mic arms And like the what was that thing that he put his microphone onto that broke? What's that called?
Oh, it was the shock mount. Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So when he bought that shock mount, if you go and look at June being interviewed, and then look at Phil after he installed that shock mount, it is exactly the same.
And he uses the same microphone as Rich of Review Tech,
Yes.
and he uses similar stuff to the Kino guys. So he
Yeah,
is just whole
He's
cloth
emulating.
everyone else. And
He's emulating, he's copying. So he's seeing what works. He thinks by getting those items, he'll have the same success when he doesn't realise his own shortcomings.
that's it for this week. Thank you so much for watching. If you made it this far, come by next week for the next one, where we discuss Phil's lifestyle and we ask the question, is it really that bad for him? As always, big ups to Anna and Who's Poppin', without whom I could have never made this series. I'm so happy people are liking it. See you in the next one.